Welcome back to Simplifying the State, the podcast where we break down politics so you don't have to try and figure out why the Venezuelan opposition leader just sort of gave Trump her Nobel Peace Prize. As always, I'm Adam Watson.
I'm Nicholas Perrin.
And I'm Drew Garfinkel.
All right, now before we start, if you would be so kind as to rate us and follow the podcast wherever you are listening and to share it with anyone you think would enjoy it, like the cashier at Auntie Anne's. Okay, so today's topic is going to sort of be talking about the possible overreach by the executive branch of the government. It's sort of why Congress is seemingly MIA during the first Trump administration. So how active compared to like other presidents do you think Congress has been?
Well, I mean, you could say that Congress has been pretty inactive. Well, I mean, I guess you could say in Trump's first term, Congress was active enough trying to impeach him twice. So that's something. But I mean, it's just for modern presidents in general, Congress has been kind of taking a back seat.
Yeah, especially like when it's like such an even number of Democrats and Republicans. Not much can like get through. Not much can be done when there's a stalemate like that. So we saw that under Biden as well.
Right.
I love the two-party system.
Yeah, it's going great.
Yeah, that's
all right. Okay, so yeah, I feel like there is a degree of partisanship to it. Like there's always that partisanship equation. But I feel like even in the first Trump administration, there were Republicans within Congress and the Senate and in the House who were sort of checking him on a couple of the things he wanted to do. Like there were some more like, hey, you can't do this. Hey, let's do this. But it seems now as though Congress is acting like a rubber stamp to whatever Trump is wanting to do, right? I mean,
there's like one thing that I would say no to that on, but generally, yeah.
Yeah. The Epstein files is like basically the only thing they've pushed back on him against.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that is such like a bipartisan issue that it would be almost impossible to not push back against Trump unless you're that one Louisiana House rep who voted against it. But,
or Mike Johnson until he voted for it.
Yeah, I think his name was like Clay Higgins of Louisiana.
He had his own thing going on with him though.
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything, but
yeah,
he was a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean you can see just the sheer overreach of the executive in just sort of the shattering of political norms. I mean, just as an example, this will sort of act as an example of two different things, but the weaponization of the Justice Department is going after the Fed. So these are two agencies. They're different in terms of like how they're organized. So the Fed is its own completely separate organization, while the Justice Department is under the executive branch. Traditionally, presidents have made it so that the Justice Department is apolitical. They have not used it to go after potential political opponents. They have not influenced the department. But now you have Trump's handpicked Attorney General nominee, Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who is sort of using the Justice Department, it seems, to go after opponents of Trump. And I mean, we saw this with the recent indictment of Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, because, and this is the prevailing theory, because he would not lower interest rates. And so just sort of using that department to go after people who the president does not like is sort of what we seem to be witnessing.
And I think like adding on to that, it's kind of different than what Trump has been doing, but I think like a lot of, especially like executive overreach ties back to FDR. I mean, he wanted to do such a huge revamp of the United States government and expand the executive branch so much. I mean, he made a lot of big claims of what he wanted to do, like expanding the Supreme Court so he could stack it with like judges who were allied to him. And I feel like that's kind of just become not necessarily the norm, but I guess like the unspoken norm, if that makes any sense for politics nowadays.
Yeah, I want to say
too.
Yeah, FDR like definitely had a bunch of programs that like got the American people like working, like programs to initiate stuff from the government. But I also want to say that about the big government versus small government topic, that in general, not always, but Republicans tend to lean towards small government. So it's interesting to see how, and on top of that, not just small government, like not a big involvement in the government, and like we know this already, and I just thought it could use like just saying.
Yeah. Drew, have you noticed, and I know we have not, sort of been, cognizant what's going on in politics for that long, but, how would you compare how Republicans seem to approach this idea of government intervention as opposed to like 5 years ago? Because now it seems like they are in favor of more government intervention, but only in certain areas like abortion, trans rights, etc. They seem to be much more in favor of intervention in that area than they were 5, 10 years ago.
5, 10 years ago, I can't like say anything anecdotally because you know I wasn't in
Yeah,
politics. I was like 10,
yeah,
but so I do see a trend towards more government involvement recently under Trump with all these. I'm gonna just say with like ICE, for example, like that's not a small government thing.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, what we've seen in Minneapolis with just the sheer amount of ICE agents that are being sent in, um, as opposed to the regular police force, because I think it's 3,000 ICE agents and 800 Minneapolis police. So ICE now um, outnumbers the city police in Minneapolis. So it just sort of seems like the executive branch is wielding its power not just within the federal government, but now within state governments to a much higher level than we've previously seen. And I mean, that is sort of where the whole sort of the idea behind the supremacy clause is that the federal government is stronger than the state governments. Sort of the idea, but like it seems like Republicans have always been in favor of let the states do what they want.
Yeah,
The
like with
federal government should
abortion.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah, the state should do what they want with regard to most things. The government should be small. It should not interfere in state matters. And it seems like they've kind of been shifting since Trump 2.0 came around. Trump 2.0 is Trump
yeah, the
post
second term.
first term. Yeah, not even second term, just like sort of post uh, 2020 election Trump.
Oh yeah, like after yeah, okay. Coined by yours truly, Adam Watson.
Oh no, I think I heard someone else
Okay,
referring
so
Yeah,
to
you
it.
I've
parrot
definitely
in
heard
it.
outside of
This
Adam.
Yeah,
guy's just a parrot.
I mean, that's all humans.
yeah,
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
just
we
copy
all.
what each
I mean,
other say. Away from linguistics, I was going to say something. So, like, I think Republicans, well, like, I get like the modern day Republican and Republicans, like, 60, 50 years ago are very, very different. But I mean, Republicans for a while have been in favor of more government intervention. Like, I mean, this is pretty different from what we're seeing today. Again, I'll acknowledge it. But like Eisenhower used the National Guard. Is that their?
no, it was the first Airborne in Little Rock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
Okay.
federalized the guard, and then they refused to do it, and then he sent in the Airborne.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was some intervention, and I mean, obviously, the Civil War it was controlled by Republicans, but for contemporary times, yeah, Republicans have been in favor of states doing their own things, but yeah, like you said, Adam, Trump has been going for more of a federal standpoint for things like, I think especially AI as well. Like Trump has repeatedly called their own state regulations about AI like a patchwork of regulation and says it's a terrible idea, which Sam Altman also says, but we're not going to
Yeah,
talk about that. Yeah, it goes to show that it's, kind of a weaponization of the executive branch and a shift towards a more federal standpoint for both parties. And I wonder how that's going to turn out in the future.
yeah. What do you guys see what do you guys think are ways Congress could sort of reassert its authority? Because obviously there are things like the War Powers Act that could theoretically stop us from going to war with the whole of NATO over Greenland. We'll sort of see how that goes. But, what do you guys think Congress could do now to sort of reassert its authority over the executive branch? Because as of right now, it's less so that Trump is just doing what he wants because he can legally do it. It's more so just like Congress doesn't care.
I don't like. There isn't a good answer to that question, I don't think, because I'm not Congress, and I'm sure Congress could have thought of something. So there's probably a way for them to like, actually go out and do something. I don't know if it's a problem like with having a reason to, or if they're like not like, for example, Republicans in the Senate and the House, if they're like intentionally not doing anything, I don't know, but it's not really like, I don't think there's a good way to like rally them if that's what you're asking.
I think that specifically for like a war sort of thing, I think Congress, in their best interests, would develop a definition of war to make it so that the executive branch, the president, cannot just send troops wherever. Like in the case of what many people would consider a war, like for example, Vietnam or like Korea or like any proxy war, which if Trump plans on doing any operation in Greenland is definitely what he's going to do. So
Right.
I think if they set out a new definition of war so that Congress would have to do that themselves, I think that's their best bet.
Yeah. I sort of want to talk a little bit more about your point, Drew, where it's like whether or not Congress is just doing nothing because they're Republicans, or if because Congress as a whole just doesn't want to do anything. And so I'm wondering if this were a Democrat president and Congress was controlled by the Democrats, do you think we would be seeing a similar sort of hands-off approach when it comes to that?
I'm sure the Democrats would act the same as Republicans if it benefited them. I have no doubt about it, but it'd be difficult to say.
Yeah, I mean, Nicholas, actually, there was something you were talking about that I thought was kind of interesting before we started. The whole removing the cap on the amount of House reps that you could have. You want to talk a little bit about that?
But yeah, so I think specifically in reference to like our topic for today, I think uncapping the House would be a good method of, simply getting new people and more people into the House so that they can more openly collaborate, so that there are more brains to put together to come to compromises, resolve like, anything. And for, other practical benefits, I mean, yeah, there would be less people per representative, so the representatives would be able to represent their constituents more effectively.
Yeah. How do you guys see this whole new executive power use? How do you see that as impacting high schoolers?
Well, I mean, high schoolers directly, I can't really say, but I mean, for the whole war thing I was talking about earlier, Adam, you could get drafted.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I would not like to see that, actually. I would not like to be drafted. I don't think that'd be, very fun.
Drew, I don't think you're
And
safe
I'm pretty sure
either.
I'm not in
It'd be
the
so
minority
quaint.
with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're the
you wouldn't
future
be far
soldiers of
behind me, though. You
America.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
far behind me.
I'm glad
In
we're
the
having
event
this
a
argument.
draft comes back, which I highly doubt it will,
Yeah, it wouldn't. It
but
probably-
we are the generation that would get drafted.
Yeah, we are all getting drafted to go
We
fight
are
in
all going to
Greenland.
war together. Yep. Okay.
Yep. All right.
I mean, it's not like we have any other choice, right?
Well,
We're
we
also
could go to
big into
college.
the
I'm
job
moving to
market.
Canada, something like that. I'm leaving the country.
Yeah. Sayonara, guys. Have fun with that. Yeah, and with that fun note, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll talk to you guys next time. And with our next episode, make sure to follow us on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you guys next time.